it's Girls Camp.
Hello, campers. Happy Girls Camp Day. I'm your host, Haley Rawl, and this is Girls Camp. Today's interview is with the one, the only, the iconic influencer extraordinaire, gay icon, Mr. Ty French. Oh, he's a podcaster too, of the Ty French podcast. I have been following along with Ty's journey for years now, and I've always admired him, thought he was so funny and so much fun, and was absolutely honored and so excited when he agreed to come on the pod and tell more about his story and his thoughts and his feelings with post-Mormonism. It's really, really fun, and I feel really honored again to be able to meet with these people that I admire and have them feel safe enough to tell their story in the space. I feel like that speaks to the community around Girls Camp, and I think it's just the most special thing ever. I feel so lucky to do it. Ty and I talk about his journey coming out. We talk about his journey leaving the church and kind of what has come up for him, how he has handled friendships with people who are in the church, his family relationships. We get into it all. There are also more F words than usual in this episode, so maybe get used to that. I don't know. I've kind of felt weird about saying fuck on the podcast. There you go. But it's happening, and it will probably continue to happen. I don't know if I will continue to disclaim, but I will put the little explicit mark on the episodes where that does happen, just so you can navigate it how you will. What a post-Mormon thing to do, to be so worried about the F word. So it goes. Okay, that is all the disclaimers. That is all the notes. So let's jump right on in to today's interview with Ty French. Enjoy. Okay. Welcome, Ty.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so happy to be interviewing you.
I'm so excited.
We're in your apartment. It's as gorgeous as...
It's a blue lagoon in here.
It's a blue lagoon. Did you paint it all? Like, did you do all of this?
I hired someone to do it.
Okay, good.
I was so lazy, and it's like so small. It was like $1,000. I was like, take my money.
Amazing. But it's cozy in here.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it. It used to be like all white. And then, you know, I'm over the beige girl aesthetic.
I know.
I'm over it.
I know. We have a white house right now, and we're always like, let's paint
gotta add
something
some color.
black.
Yeah,
let's
we
like
gotta add some
paint
color.
something.
100%.
I'm super excited to hear your story. I don't know much about, I'm a listener of your podcast, but I'm excited to hear your Mormon story.
Oh gosh, it's like I don't even know where to begin.
I know. Let's start at the beginning. Where were you raised? Kind of your upbringing.
Okay, so
around
I moved around
Mormonism.
a ton. But I'm mainly from Utah and Arizona.
Okay.
And yeah, Mormon my whole life. My mom grew up Mormon. Her mom grew up Mormon. Her mom grew up Mormon.
A legacy Mormon.
Straight through to the pioneers.
Yep.
Like legacy Mormon. My dad was a converted when he was like 19.
Okay.
Immediately went on mission like 2 weeks later. Crazy.
Damn.
I don't know. It's funny because like I just never knew anything else. Like I'm sure you can relate. Like you're from Utah. Like I was talking about this with someone yesterday. Like when you live in Utah, you just don't think of it. You don't think of Mormonism like almost as a religion. Like it's just like life.
Yeah,
it's
just
who
what you do.
It's society. It's culture. Like it's everything. It's politics. And then when I was in 8th grade, I moved to Arizona, and we moved to Scottsdale at first, and that was like a huge wake up call for me. Like I was the only Mormon in my school, and I was like, what? Like, what is happening?
Such a shift.
But then we did that for like 6 months, and then I moved to Gilbert, which is, I don't know if you've ever been to Gilbert. It's literally Provo Part 2.
I've never been, but I've heard it's a mini Provo.
Literally mini Provo.
Yeah.
So then I was like kind of thrust back into it. And then when I was a senior in high school, I moved to Virginia. And then I was the only Mormon again. And like I had to do like the full like early morning seminary and like all of that. And once I did that, I was just like, wow, okay, like the world is so much bigger than just Mormonism. And like there are like other cultures and other ethnicities and other sexualities. And like, oh my God, like I can be someone else than like what I thought.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And that happened for you. You feel like in Virginia? When were those cogs turning for you?
It's so hard because, like, obviously I'm gay. And similar to, like, how you don't think that, like, Mormonism is just life. It's not like a religion. There's no, like, any other option. Growing up gay, it's like I always knew I was different. I always knew I was gay, but, like, I didn't even really know what gay was. And, like, I'd never seen gay people on TV. I'd never seen, like, gay people in a commercial. Like, society now is so different.
Yeah.
I didn't see, like, gay Instagrammers or gay TikTokers. There wasn't that. There wasn't social media. There was nothing. So, like, I didn't really know what it was. I knew I was different. I just didn't know, like, how to channel it or, like, that was even an option. Like, literally, my mom told me that the second coming of Christ would happen before gay marriage was legal.
Oh.
Like, that's
Well, she was
the
wrong on
family
that
I
one.
was growing up in.
Yeah.
So, like, I knew I was different, but I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, like, that was ever even going to be an option. Like, it just wasn't to me. Like, I totally thought I was going to marry a girl. I thought I was going to go on a mission. I thought I was going to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
The wheels started to turn for me, like, literally as a child. Like, I always knew that, like, I didn't fit in here, but I didn't know until literally after I graduated high school when I was 18 that, like, oh, no, like, I do have free will. Like, I can
do what I wanna do.
Not to
Yeah.
be a part of this. And,
Yeah.
like, I can be gay. And, like, when I came out, gay marriage was still illegal.
That's insane.
So, like, that was, like, a big thing for me because, like, I obviously want to get married and I want to have kids. And, like, I remember when I first came out to my best friend, that was, like, the biggest hang up for me. It's illegal.
Yeah,
like, it's not just, like...
Yeah. It's
like-
not just that you're Mormon. It's like
and
the
that
United
just
States won't let
validates
you.
everything that the church is telling you.
Totally.
Like, it's a sin, it's this, and it's like, well, yeah, it's a sin. It's illegal.
Whoa.
It's like, you know, it's like such a mind trip.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, well, you can have a partner and, like, you can adopt. It's like, no, it's like, this is an illegal act. And that's just validating everything that the church is telling me.
Absolutely. That's so intense because you're not only fighting your Mormon upbringing, you're fighting society.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more to that, and that's why I find it so beautiful and so brave because there's so many layers to it, and Mormonism is just another layer.
Yeah.
Because you're fighting so many systems.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like, I mean, I've lived in LA now for, I don't know, 8 years. Maybe unhealthily, but I feel like I just block so much of, like, my childhood away, and I block so much of, like, Mormonism, and, like, it never leaves you. I don't know. Like, every time I, like, reflect back on it, I'm like, wow, I really fucking did that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard. And I look back on it and I'm like, I think about when I was a kid and I was, like, in school plays and I was in dance. I never went to, like, I never wanted to, like, change in PE in the locker room because people were, like, thinking I was looking at them because, like, I was gay. And, like, there wasn't a second that went by that, like, it wasn't on my mind.
Yeah.
And it was, like, full of shame. Like, it wasn't ever, like, any happy moments. It wasn't, like, little gay, like, bliss. Like, it was, like, shame 24/7.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
So hard. Just so devastating.
Yeah.
I think it's great that society has progressed.
100%. I'm so happy for, like, youth today. Obviously, it's, like, still so hard depending on, like, whatever your situation is. But I don't know. There is, like, a part of me that, and I'm sure, like, older generations than me even feel that about, like, my generation that, like, has, like, a hint of, like, jealousy.
Yeah, totally.
Of, like, these kids that, like, can grow up on TikTok and see, like, queer couples on commercials and in TV shows and, like,
totally.
I'm like, I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
Like, who knows, like, everything happens for a reason, but, like, who knows, like, who I could have been?
Absolutely.
Who knows, like, how much, if I had accepted myself and, like, had come out when I was, like, 10, like, who knows what I could have done? Like,
Totally.
I was bursting with creativity. I wanted so much to, like, just be my own person. I wanted to be in school plays. I wanted to sing. I wanted to do dance. Everything in my life was, like, pushing that away.
I have chills because I'm thinking about how you are that person now.
Yeah.
For other people. And it's so devastating that you couldn't step into that self until later in life, and that was being taken from you in a big way. But it's so beautiful because, I mean, I've just met you in person, but from what I see of you, you are so yourself. You're so confident. You're, like, showing the world, like, you can be happy. Like, you can do this. And especially when you've come from a place where you weren't allowed to do that for so long.
100%.
That's such a, like, beautiful story arc that now you can, like, show people who are maybe in these smaller towns or growing up in religious communities.
Yeah.
But they can find you and be like, okay, like, I can actually do this. I can be
100%.
happy.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard because I feel like I do shove that so far away. And like in LA, like now I'm like in La La Land. Like now I'm in like, I mean, I live in the gayest neighborhood in the world probably. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely feel like I do need to like tap into that more. Like I feel like I should be, I feel like I'm obviously an advocate for a lot of things, but like I don't, people have it like way worse than I do. And I feel like I probably could do more to like tap into that, you know?
I know. That's the hard thing with growing up Mormon. And I experienced this in a smaller way and in a different way. But I don't know. Sometimes I think the best thing we can do is just figure out our happiness and just like live our happiness for people to see.
100%.
Like that in and of itself is such a powerful thing to do.
100%.
And I feel like that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just to be living the way you want to live and be doing it proudly and loudly, I think that is really enough, because that's like the beacon of hope for people.
Yeah. I
and
agree.
yeah, I'm proud of you. That sounds like so much to just a lot to go through.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came out. Were you still in the church at that point?
Yeah, I was still in the church. It's so funny. Like I look back and I'm just like, oh, you're so dumb. After I graduated high school, I moved back to Utah, just like by myself. And when I came out, I didn't like really even mean to come out. It kind of like happened. And I'm glad it happened how it did, but like I wasn't like prepared. I didn't like think about it, and I wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna come out. Someone had asked me, like one of my friends, they were like, oh, like have you ever thought about like, are you gay? People make fun of you. We were talking about bullying and growing up, and she was like, well, have you ever thought about it? And I just had never had anyone that like actually, I got made fun of for being gay my whole life, but like I never had anyone who like I cared about genuinely asked me. They always were just like defending me. If people like were like asking if I was gay, they'd be like, leave him alone. And that was the first time that someone had asked me how I felt about it, like not in a judgmental way. And I was like, what is happening? Like chills went through my whole body. And I was like, I don't feel like I want to say no, but like that's my knee-jerk reaction is to be like, no, I'm not gay. Like that's just what I did my whole life.
Yeah.
And so then I like went home and I was like, what's happening? And I called my best friend and I just like told her how it made me feel. We talked on the phone for like 4 hours. And then by the end of the convo, I was like, well, I guess I'm gay. Like, I guess I'm coming out. It was just like weird anticlimactic thing.
Yeah. It wasn't like some...
Yeah. It wasn't like I was like building up the courage to do it. Like it kind of like I got like tossed into it. And then I didn't want it to be like a big to-do. And I'm very non-confrontational. And so I came out via text message to pretty much all my friends and family.
Good for you.
Because, like, not even that I'm not confrontational. I wanted my parents I wanted to get out everything that I wanted to say.
Absolutely.
Without being emotional.
Yep.
And then I wanted them to, like, be able to sit on it and, like, think and, like, not have, like, a knee-jerk. Like, I didn't want them to say anything that they were going to regret. And so I texted my mom this, like, big to-do thing when I was, like, 18. And she was still in Virginia. I was like, call me if you want to chat. And if you have anything negative to say, like, don't reach out. Like,
amazing.
I was
You set that boundary.
I was so ready to, like, live authentically that, like, I was willing to sacrifice whatever relationship I was going to have with anyone, my family, my parents, any friends. Like, literally, I was like, don't call me if you have anything negative to say. Like, I don't care. Like, I pay for
I don't want to hear it.
I pay for my own phone. Like, I bought my own car. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would be sad. And so she called me like 4 hours later. It was like the longest 4 hours of my life. Yeah, she very much was, I mean, like I said earlier, like she was like, the second coming of Christ is going to happen before you marriage is legal. Like she, so she was very much like, you know, the church recognizes that like same-sex attraction is a thing and that that's like your trial. And so, like, she understood that, like, I didn't, like, make it up. Like, that's, like, a thing.
Yeah, she didn't doubt
she's
that
like,
that was your
marriage
experience.
is more than sexual attraction. Like, marriage is about, like, your devotion to God and, like, it's a choice and, like, whatever and blah, 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 blah. And she was like, you know, the church has therapists that you can go to that help you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. And she was like, well, what does this mean for you in the church? And it's funny because I still went to church for a while. Even after I moved to LA, like a year later, I would still go to the singles ward, like with my friends. Like a few of my girlfriends, like were still Mormon, so like we'd go, and it was like mostly just social. I was willing to still be a part of it. But, like, did you ever go to singles ward?
I never really went to a singles ward.
It's like regular church, obviously, but then they only talk about marriage. That's the whole thing.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And, like, obviously, the only way to heaven is to, like, get married at the temple. You can only get married in the temple if you're straight. So I, like, went a few times, and I was just like, all eyes are on me, and every talk is, like, pointing out how, like, I'm not worthy, I'm not going to heaven. Like, it just felt so gross.
Yeah, I bet.
And that's when I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't know why I'm holding on to it.
Yeah.
But
what was that like for you to finally step away?
I think since it was, like, gradual, and, like, I had already lived in LA, and, like, I had started to meet my queer friends and whatever, it was nice. Like, it wasn't this, like, big to-do that I felt like I'm leaving the church. Like, this isn't for me. It was very much just, like, one day I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to church.
It just made sense to stop going.
For a while, it's funny because for a while, I, like, still had so much respect for the church. A lot of my friends were still Mormon, and I was like, you know, to each their own. It's not for me. You do your thing. And then it wasn't until, like, last year that my, like, resentment started to, like, kick in.
Oh, interesting.
And, like, my, like, anger towards it. Because then I'd had these friends that I'd been friends with for 12 years supporting this institution that, because when I left, I didn't really know much. It was like I was leaving whatever because they don't let gays get married. But then I feel like over the years, there's been so many, like, talks at BYU or talks in general conference where they've, like, doubled down and, like, the words that they've said, like, there was one talk that, like, it was the nail in the coffin, and I can't remember what he said. He said, I think it was the prophet, and he said, brothers and sisters, don't let your love for your brothers and sisters that are queer be mistaken for advocacy.
Shit.
And I was like, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, excuse me?
Because that's when I was like, okay, all my friends that are Mormon, like, you got to pick a side. Because for a while it was like, okay, love your neighbor and, like, we're all God's children or whatever. And him saying that was like, you can love your neighbor, but, like, that doesn't mean that, like, you're advocating for their rights. And that's not okay for me.
Yeah.
Because if you're my friend and, like, you love me, it's like, that's not enough. I want you to advocate for my rights.
Yeah, what else is love than advocacy for
100%.
human rights?
Like,
for the people that you love.
If like, someone was trying to take away gay marriage, it's like, I would hope you'd be protesting with me. I'd hope that you would be advocating for that. So that was, like, the tipping point for me. And I had to have, like, a lot of uncomfortable conversations with,
I can
like,
imagine.
my friends who were still in the church that I was like, it makes me very uncomfortable that you are still supporting this after A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Totally.
And I think once I say it and, like, I get it out on the table, it's like, you can still be Mormon and, like, I'll still love you and, like, we can still have a friendship. I just have to let you know that, like, how it makes me feel, you know?
Yeah, this is how it's affecting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really brave of you to even be willing to do that. And honestly, not that it should be something that you need to do, but I do think sometimes it's what people need.
Yeah.
People need someone who's being affected in that way that you're describing to be like, hello.
Yeah.
To kind of, you know, like, show them, like, this is
100%,
what
because
it's
that's
like.
the only way you're going to learn. I don't think my friends are homophobic. I just have to, like, teach you about A, B, C, D, F, G because you've never been in this situation. You might not know any gay people.
And ideally, people are, like, seeking out that information
Yeah,
for themselves,
yeah.
or even better, we just grow up in diverse communities
100%.
where you're,
That's
like,
the thing. It's
learning that.
Yeah, it's no one's job to teach anyone
Totally.
anything. But
I see what you're saying. And I think it's really, again, like, I think that's really brave of you, because I know something I have the tendency to do, and I think a lot of post-Mormons maybe do, is, like, you do your thing, you do mine, which is, I think, in a way you have to be able to cultivate that in some capacity. But I do think it's really brave to be able to say, like, hey, this is how it feels for me, though.
Yeah.
You know, you can set the boundaries that you need if you want to maintain that friendship, but to be able to say, hey, as the person who this is directly affecting, this is what it's like. This is what it feels like. And I think a lot of times, hopefully, that's enough for people to actually, like, kind of connect those dots, you know?
I think Mormonism is just built so much, like, Mormon culture is, like, just built so much on don't ask, don't tell. Like, let's not talk about it. Whatever makes us uncomfortable, like, push it to the side. Like, so it is, like, that's your culture. Like, it is hard to have, like, uncomfortable conversations about those things. I haven't talked to my mom about being gay since the day it came out.
Wow.
Not once.
Wow.
That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Not that I feel like if I brought it up to her, I feel like she would have a dialogue with me, but she's very much just like, I ain't gonna touch it, you know? Like, love you, you're my son. She calls me like once a month to check in on me, but like, she would never ask me if I'm like dating anyone.
Yeah.
That's just like so like out of her comfort zone because that's just how you're taught. It's like if someone gets a tattoo, don't look at it. Like if someone drinks, like look away. Like they're very much like, if it doesn't affect me, look over there.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about how we're taught as Mormons, like you were talking about this before, love your neighbor no matter what. Like Jesus loved the sinners, right?
Blow me.
Yeah. It's like, is that the level of love we want to achieve? You're a sinner, but like, I'll love you.
Yeah,
like, it's okay.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
But like, yeah, we love our neighbors.
Well,
so
it's like,
fine.
it's like they approach it as like, love your neighbor, but I can still judge you if you're doing this.
Exactly.
The love, when they say love your neighbor, they're meaning like, okay, yeah, I recognize that you're also God's children. I'm God's child, you're God's child. They're not saying love thy neighbor as like, I love you, I see you as a human being. You should have rights no matter like what your religion, your race, your sexuality, your identity. That's not what they're meaning. But like, that's what it's intended to be.
Exactly. Yeah, love them for who they are as they are.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Love
it's
them.
not just like you recognizing that they're also God's children. But I feel like that's how
Totally.
Mormons like view it.
I know, and it's odd to me because is that not the bare fucking minimum?
Is that not just like human rights?
Yes.
Like that's not even a
Exactly.
religion thing. It's like
Yes.
who cares if you believe in God or whatever? It's like I recognize that like you're a living human being on earth, like living and doing the best that you can.
Exactly.
Is that not literally
Do we need to pat ourselves on the back for being like, we love our neighbor though?
like
It's like, A, kind of not even really.
Right,
and B,
right.
like, duh.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you went through that. That sounds really difficult at a lot of stages of that journey.
You know, it makes you strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure. I'm curious to hear. I mean, I know there's so much that has happened in between all of that, but how do you feel now? You talked about feeling some of that resentment kind of come up for you like a year ago. How has it panned out with those friendships?
Yeah.
Like, where do you feel like your relationship is at now?
I feel like I'm good. I'm in a comfortable state. I feel like most of my friends now are either like pretty much out or like in a very comfortable space with the church. Like they might still be Mormon, but like they might say they're Mormon, but like
They're
I don't
cool
view them
about
as
it.
Mormon. Like I'm like, you're not Mormon because you don't believe that I'm going to hell. And like you don't believe that to get to heaven everyone has to get married in the temple. So like you're not Mormon because that's literally the definition of a Mormon. So I'm like, you can like say you're Mormon if you want. But I do feel, I guess not resentment, maybe that's the wrong word. Like I now am comfortable with being vocally against the church to where I feel like for a while I still was like trying to be like, okay, everyone do their thing, whatever, because so many people in my life were Mormon. Like all my family's still Mormon, my friends were still Mormon. Like that's such a big part of who I am. So it felt weird to be like, well, I guess my whole life was a lie. And to like turn so the other way, that now I feel like I'm comfortable with being like, yeah, I grew up in a fucking cult and like F you for making me feel like dog shit my entire life.
Totally.
And I have the right to be upset by that.
Totally. And to
I'm
talk
not,
about
like,
it.
Yeah. I'm not like judgy to any other Mormons or like, you can do what you want. But like now I'm comfortable with being like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
that was hell.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an interesting... It's something I explore a lot on this podcast because I think there's a thing where as post-Mormons, there's a big like burden of respect, right?
Totally. It's crazy.
It's crazy because it's like, well, you weren't respected.
It's like ingrained in you that like you can leave, but you better not fucking say a thing about the church.
Yep.
And you better respect it. It's so weird. Like, why do we think that?
Why do we think that?
It's kind of like what I said. I think they do ingrain it in you, and I think there's like a culty aspect to it, but I think a lot of it has to do with like you don't want to disrespect yourself of who you were for all those years. Like I don't want to like look back on my whole life and think it was a lie and I was in a cult and I was brainwashed or whatever. Like I want to look back at it and be like, okay, I was lost, I was confused, I religion can be a beautiful thing. Like, it's beautiful to like believe in something bigger than yourself and to like, you know, go around and do family home evening and this, whatever. It's like, there are things about it. And I just feel like the respect thing is like you respecting yourself and like giving yourself grace for all the years that you were so naive.
Yep.
You
know what? That's so insightful, because when my defensiveness crops up around Mormonism, like on behalf of Mormonism, God forbid, but it happens, it's because of that, right? Like, and not only for my former self, but because I see in people who are still practicing the religion, I see myself in them
100%.
because I was them.
100%.
And I understand what you do mentally to make it work. I understand that there are people, and I'm curious your reaction to this because I'm straight, but I can understand that there are people who feel really tortured by that dissonance of I don't want this for gay people, or I don't want this for women, but yet they're making it work. And I understand why they're so desperately trying to make it work. Do you see what I'm saying?
100%. And I understand that mentality, but
yeah, let it out. Tell me.
Like, you can't be like a part of an institution who literally funds billions of dollars to anti-gay, like all of these things, and be like, oh, well, but I don't think that.
Yeah.
That's not how I feel. I believe that you're not going to go to hell.
I disagree with that part.
Well, you're paying your tithing, and guess where that's going? It's like, you can't do that. I understand that battle, because every person is looking out for them at the end of the day. So it's like, if you're not gay, you might like support gay issues, whatever, but it's like, that's not your battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so you're like, okay, well, I don't think that, but the church makes me feel good, and like, that's my life. I'm not gay. So like, why would I leave because the church doesn't support gays? 'Cause I'm not gay. Even if I love gay people, like I have friends that are gay, it's like,
it's not directly affecting.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about there's like a paradox. It's called, well, they say you can be intolerant of intolerance, right?
Yeah.
Because when we preach tolerance, which is also something the church does, and I think, again, tolerance, it's like, great, you'll tolerate me?
Right.
Thank you.
Word. Oh my God.
Appreciate it. But I feel like that's kind of where I'm at too, is feeling like I can be tolerant or respectful, whatever, but not of people who are intolerant.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
That's kind of where it gets really sticky.
Yeah.
Because people will say, who are still Mormon, like, well, I'll respect you if you respect me.
Yeah.
But it's like, but actually what you believe is inherently disrespectful of me.
Exactly. That's what it's like, where's the line?
Where's the line? It gets really sticky. And again, when you're being so directly affected by those terrible, exclusionary, homophobic doctrines and things that people are still preaching from the pulpit today.
It's cuckoo chill.
Yeah.
Even like put the gay thing aside, like, because whatever, I understand that's a small portion of the population and of Mormons. Just how they speak about women.
I know.
Oh my God. Like,
I know.
How can any woman like sit and listen to these talks and think, oh, I'm an equal and like they respect me or they see me? Absolutely not. That was the final. My oldest sister, like, she didn't get married in the temple, and you know, she got married outside, whatever. She had 3 kids, and eventually she like was starting the process to get sealed. And you know, you have to have like the missionaries come over, and you have to have lessons, and you have to do all this preparation to like make sure, you know, you really want to do it. And as she was doing it, she left the church.
Whoa.
Because she was like, you are all so misogynist. It's insane.
She's like,
And she's like, I'm the breadwinner of my family. Like, I've been working my ass off since I was 16. Like, what? And just everything that they were spewing to her, she was just like, ew, like gross. Like, I don't want to be a part of this church.
Yeah, this is.
And it's crazy.
Right.
It's like she was literally ready to like get sealed.
Wild.
And I just feel like the church is so much about, even like the temple, it's very like, you can't talk about it. Like, you can't talk about what goes on in there. Like, my mom doesn't talk about it. Like, it's like, you can't talk about the ceremony, what you wear, the fucking chef hat. Like, you know, you can't talk about it. But like, they do that because they know it's fucking weird.
The chef hat.
The chef hat.
When I saw my husband in the chef hat.
You got married in the temple?
Yeah.
Jail.
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 I got married to my husband in
You had to wear the apron.
chef hat in an apron, wearing a veil.
But they don't tell you that because they know that if you saw that, you'd be like, oh, I'm in a cult.
Yeah.
It's so much about like not educating you about even what you believe or your religion. Like we don't know the history of Joseph Smith and how he was like going around town marrying 14-year-olds, and that's why they locked him up in the jail cell and lit it on fire. Like, but you're not taught that.
Yeah.
It was that they didn't want freedom of religion and they were persecuting him. No, he was marrying 14-year-olds. It's so fictional. The whole history is fictional.
Yeah. Yep. I was talking to Tishmal about this, and we were saying there's so many lies of omission.
Mm-hmm.
They've like taken details and painted a picture that just simply is untrue. Yeah. But there's a claim of like, well, we're not lying because, we're telling the facts, but it's like, but you're not. It's that's like, even debatable.
Are the
but
facts
also,
in the room with us?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Which facts? Like how?
Joseph Smith was probably on mushrooms, went in the fucking woods, 14 years old. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's literally insane. Like, when you really break it down, and it's just crazy that like the Catholic Church or Buddhism or all these religions like have been around for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. The Mormon Church has been around for like 200 years.
It's funny you say that because I just told you we're staying right next to the LA temple, and we were pulling up to it. And Bentley, my husband, was like, oh, I bet people think about this the way we think about, we went to this Buddhist temple in Hawaii. And he's like, I bet that's how people here in LA like think about this Mormon temple. And I was like, Bentley, no, Buddhism is like an ancient, beautiful practice.
Yeah.
And I said to Bentley, because just right before we had seen a Scientology like center, and I was like, I think people probably see it more like that than the Buddhist temple.
1,000%.
I'm like, I think that's probably like more, or somewhere in maybe the middle of those two things.
100%.
Yeah, it is really wild. And I think we were talking about this before we started recording, but there's so many phases of leaving Mormonism, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't feel like there's any like chronology to it, but sometimes I'll have, you like learn something or someone gives an insane talk and something pops up and you're like, whoa, I thought I was over that. Or like, I thought 100%. I was like fine. Yeah. And then you're triggered and there's all this weird trauma that comes up. Yeah. And it's just interesting to see like that roller coaster that who knows how long it's gonna last.
Well, I feel like even like when you leave or like when you're maybe exploring the idea of leaving, that's when you're looking into it, you're looking into the facts, you're learning the history, and like I said, like the Mormon Church doesn't teach you the real history or like anything that really happened, and so then when you do learn it, you're like, like they've been lying to me for years. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of betrayal.
Yeah.
You feel really betrayed.
You just feel like, you're like, wait, you're not even telling people facts. It's weird.
It's really weird. I know. It's hard to comprehend. And I think you were kind of talking about this earlier too, like with the whole advocacy thing and even just, I don't know, it's like you step away from Mormonism and you kind of have to decide like, how much of this do I want to take on? Yeah. And in what ways do I want to take it on is maybe the better question. Because I think inevitably that's part of us. Like we have to reckon with that no matter what. But it's interesting to think about how there's so many different ways to kind of deal with all that shit.
Yeah. And I just feel like most people just leave and run away from it as fast as possible. So like I like love that you're doing this podcast and like really like diving into it.
Thanks.
Because I feel like, I never talk about it. Like I haven't talked about it since I left. It's like people leave and they're like, hasta luego, muchacho.
Yeah.
Like I gotta go. I don't ever want to talk about it. Like I learned what I need to learn, and like I don't ever want anything to do with it again. But I think it is like healthy to unpack.
Yeah, totally. And it's so complicated and it's so sticky that it's a hard thing to talk about because everyone feels differently and has their like different attachments to different parts of it. Yeah. And that's why I've been talking about this with my past few interviews, but I got on TikTok. So I'm doing like Exmo TikTok stuff because I'm like, I gotta find my TikTokers to listen, get my numbers up.
They love those. People love the Ex-Mormon TikToks.
They do. It's a crazy community and it's really cool, but it's just interesting to see, like, when I first started the podcast, the type of people I was reaching were more I don't know, just like in my sphere or
Yeah,
like
right.
adjacent to my sphere, where now that I'm on TikTok, the reach is just so different.
Yeah.
And just realizing like there are as many different types of post-Mormons as there are Mormons, right? But it's just interesting to even at this stage realize like so many people leave the church for so many different reasons.
100%. And I feel like it's also like notable to say that I think Mormons, like, especially ex-Mormons, kind of feel like on an island, but like we're not unique. Like there are so many religions out there that are crazy, and there are a lot of people that escape their religions and leave and have very similar experiences, and like their family's still in it, and their family's still like Southern Baptist or this or Jewish or like so many things. And so I think it's easy because like we're from Utah and it's like there's only one religion.
Totally.
That it feels like you're either Mormon or you're not Mormon. But then when you're out in the world, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm an ex-Mormon. It's like, okay, well, and someone's ex-Catholic.
Totally.
Like, and there are a lot of similarities to it.
Totally.
So I feel like, I don't know, we just put ourselves on islands.
Totally.
We
That's
can probably
a good
relate
point.
to a lot more people than we think.
Totally. And that sounds like that's been really healing for you in LA because you just realize we all have such different backgrounds and different traumas and different like it's just it's so healthy to be around people who are different.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna
Can you
ask you,
imagine?
like, how do you deal with living in Utah?
Yeah.
Like, I literally could not do it.
Yeah.
Like, living in LA is like the most beautiful thing on the planet. There's so much diversity. Like, there's just like, I don't know. It feels like I'm in Disneyland 24/7.
Totally,
But,
totally.
like,
Utah is such an interesting thing. I love talking about this because I feel like the way, I think Bentley and I are really lucky because we have a really solid group of people that we're with all the time who are all post-Mormon.
Okay.
And here's the thing about that, though. I love it, and I think it's really important for us right now because we do a lot of processing and unpacking and like talking through it together. But I do think there will come a phase when either that friend group we're with, I think we're already kind of like moving forward together. And I also still think Bentley and I talk all the time. We're like, okay, this is great. Like, I'm glad we're around people we can relate to in post-Mormonism.
Right.
But there's so much value in just being around people who they still have the same upbringing as us, even though they're post-Mormons. And I think there's something so beautiful about that connection and being able to connect with people like that. But I definitely think that it's so important for all those reasons you're saying to also just find people who just don't even have that in common with you.
You can't like it keeps you like in the past.
Totally.
Like even like I have a huge friend group here that like I have like my gays and then I have like my ex-Mormons who like I've known from like forever that are all from Utah, and every time we're together we end up talking about Mormon.
Totally.
Like it always happens. It's like why are we talking about this? But like, you know, we start drinking this, someone makes a joke, then we start talking about Joseph Smith or this, or we're playing a game and we make the theme ex-Mormon. Like it's like we're like, are we okay? Like we need to let it go. Like we need to move along.
I know. I'm always battling with that because I mean, especially starting this podcast, I like kind of feel bad for all my friends because I'm like, I feel like we were kind of getting past it, and now I'm like, oh
I'm
shit, sorry.
Your trauma every week.
I'm like, did you listen to my episode?
Yeah, right,
and then we
right.
just like talk about, you know, post-Mormon stuff. And yeah, I think that's an interesting, I think for me, I feel past like the deep anger stuff, but I think I'm still I think I'm more in the thick of it than I think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
And it sounds like a lot of the people you're around are probably still.
Yeah.
Because I talk to people who are post-Mormons who are like, oh yeah, I just like don't think about it anymore.
It's funny because it's like you don't think about it, and I feel like I'm not in the thick of it. But then if someone brings something up, it's like I can instantly be triggered. And be like, yeah, what the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck? Polygamy? Like, we're okay with that? Like, blacks not having the priesthood? Like, we're good with that? Like, what the fuck? Like, I can be so easily triggered, and then I can talk about it for 2 hours.
I know.
But then, like, in my day-to-day life, I don't think about it.
See, and I think maybe that's the distinction, is like, it's kind of nice to be able to click into that.
Yeah.
or nice, not nice, but it's, you know,
it's
like,
healthy.
It's not, yeah, sometimes it's like, whoa, I can think about that, process, vent, whatever. But it's nice, I think, and probably the ultimate goal to, in your day-to-day life, just like not have it be
100%.
like the thing.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I'm hoping to do with this podcast too, is being like, okay, this is a place where we can like click in.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it and we can laugh about it, but we don't need to be like, leading with our
digging the grave.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And
no,
it's,
for sure.
I mean, it's a balance, because I think it's different for different people at different stages, but it's definitely something that, I don't know. I think it comes and goes, and obviously being in Utah, it's different because it's like,
I'm in Utah. You live there. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, like I just see like the neighbors, you know, opening their garage on Sunday, wearing their
There's a church on every corner.
Yeah, wearing their church clothes. I'm like, oh whoa. It's more weird for me because it reminds me, like there's still people like really doing this.
It's like running into your ex-boyfriend every day. It's like, I don't want to be reminded of that relationship.
Oh,
like,
I've been
get out.
100%. I've been thinking
it's like,
about
how
that
do you move
so much.
on from an ex-boyfriend if you keep running into him?
Totally. And I did a TikTok the other day and someone commented, I was like talking about like leave the church. Why can't you just leave the church alone now that you've left? And someone commented and they're like, yeah, I'll leave the church alone when it stops
when
like influencing politics.
Yeah, right.
And like legislation.
Right.
And I'm like, exactly. Like you can't really escape it, particularly in a place like Utah.
Yeah, there's no leaving it alone. Like,
yeah, it's there.
That's literally impossible.
I know. That argument is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'm like, okay, grow up for 20 years, literally. 25 years, and then just like go on your merry way. Like, bye.
Oh my gosh. Well, I commend you for living in Utah still.
You're nice.
That takes balls.
It's a great cost of living. And my mom watches my girls.
Oh, no. They're so cute.
And there's soda shops. Were you ever a soda guy?
The soda
Tell
shops.
Me.
Like, is there anything more
Let's
freaking
talk Utah
than
culture. Let's talk Utah culture.
Soda shops. Like, when I tell people that, like, that are from here, they're, like, literally blown to bits. They're like, what do you mean it's, like, Starbucks for sodas? I'm like, no, it's a drive-thru. And you get, like, a Coke with, like, vanilla. And, like, they're like, what? I'm like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's mind-blowing.
It's so funny. It blew up on TikTok a while ago.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
And go into fucking 7-Eleven and get your fucking soda.
It's different, Ty. It's different.
I'm not a soda person, so like maybe I don't get it. But
oh yeah, that Utah culturism it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't feel weird.
Yeah.
But it's so weird.
It's like so weird.
I cannot get myself to like coffee. Do I need to just keep drinking it?
I don't like coffee either.
Oh my god. Okay, good.
I know. And
my
friends
you
are like trying to get me on it.
And
I'm like, I think that's just the post-Mormon in me. It's just like I just can't get into it.
I
that's
cannot
why I
do
Red
it.
Bull, which I'm like, oh my god, that's not good for me.
I know, but coffee, there's something about it. I want something cold and fizzy.
Yeah.
I don't want a hot. I mean, you can get it iced.
If it's like an iced vanilla latte, like extra vanilla.
Yeah.
And then it's like just literally sugar.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think I don't like, me who drinks Diet Coke with like
So I'm like just
coconut
newly
syrup.
on the Diet Coke trend. Because like I tried not to drink in December for like 2 weeks. And then I was like, okay, I'll drink Diet Coke. And now I'm like, when I'm hungover, there is nothing better than a Diet Coke from McDonald's. Like there's nothing better.
I bet.
Just like cold, fizzy.
Fizzy. Gives you the
best.
Caffeine.
Yes.
I will be drinking Diet Coke till the day I die. It will be the aspartame will be the reason I probably die. The Diet Coke.
I love it.
Okay, I want to hear about, you've kind of like alluded to this. Do you feel like there's like, what are the Mormon pieces of you? Or do you feel like there's things you've inherited from Mormonism that you're either grateful for or you're still like, you know what I mean?
Ooh, interesting. I guess maybe I'm not grateful. I feel like with relationships, I'm like definitely a prude. And like I'm very guarded. Like I don't like hookup culture or like anything like that. And I feel like that's like the Mormon in me, which is like, I mean, a blessing and a curse because I'm like not trying to be a hoe. But also like I think it like holds me back in a lot of ways. Because like I feel like I don't date because I'm like, you just want to have sex with me. Like, I don't know, you know?
Interesting.
But what else? I don't know.
It's hard to parse out. It's like hard to even know.
It's hard to piece it. Like, yeah, it's like, I like just barely started drinking tea this year. Like I still don't drink coffee. Like, but then it's like I drink alcohol. I don't know. Like weird things like that. Like, I feel like I still say like frickin' or shiz or I'm like, are you okay? Like say fuck shit.
I was gonna point this out. You said I'll find the soundbite because it's amazing. But earlier you said something like, yeah, it's a fucking cult. I'm like, F you.
Goodbye. Yeah, like I can't. It
but
comes
that's such
off and
a thing.
on.
I know. I don't know when I choose to do it or not.
Right.
Especially with the F word. Like
It's so
sometimes
funny.
I'll say fuck, sometimes
Yeah.
I'll say the F word,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll say F, sometimes I'll say frick. Like
it's
no
so
one
funny.
knows which one it's gonna
Totally.
be.
It's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it'll never leave you. Like Utah will never leave me. Being an literally, oh my God, I almost had a heart attack. Someone like came, we were having like a pregame at my house the other day. And I don't know what it was. I had just met this person. Like it was like a friend of a friend who came. And like literally within the first 2 minutes of talking, he goes, "You're from Utah, aren't you?" And I was like, how'd you know that? And he was like, "You're just giving me Utah energy." And I was like, I'm gonna go blow my brains out. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's literally the biggest insult you could have said.
Yeah.
Like, get out of my house. Get out of my house.
Utah energy.
Yeah. I was like, is it the highlights? Is it that? Like, I don't know. I'm like, I probably was saying like shiz or something. Like, and he was just like, "You're giving me Utah energy." And I was like, well, awesome. So
You're like,
I'm gonna go crawl in the hole.
how did you know? You're like, that would be Gilbert energy. Thank you very much.
Right. Oh, I know. I pick and choose where I say where I'm from sometimes. Sometimes like I don't want to unpack the
I'm
Mormon
sure.
thing, so I just say I'm from Arizona.
I'm sure. Okay, tell me a little bit more about what living in LA has done for you.
Oh my God. I feel like it literally like saved my life. I love LA so much. Like, first off, the weather is just like, you can't beat it.
Oh,
like
it's
I will
insane.
never live anywhere again with humidity, with over 110 degrees or snow. Like I will never do it. I can't do it. But I don't know. Like, it's just, even like I've been wanting to move to Venice, and like I've talked about that a bit on my podcast, but like there's something so special about the neighborhood that I live in, WeHo. Like growing up, like not having any gays, like not seeing any gay people, like whatever. Now it's like, it's weird to see straight people. Like I live in such a pocket of queer life that like when I go to the grocery store, like all the clerks are gay, like the valet guy is gay, like all the servers are gay at restaurants, like everyone's gay. Everywhere I go, everyone's gay. And I just feel like so seen and like valid and like normal.
Totally.
And it's like really just life-changing.
Yeah.
Like to go from like the polar opposite to this is like really a beautiful thing.
That's so beautiful. A gay paradise.
Literally.
I'm like, if
Still
anyone-
single.
Yeah.
Hello, gays. Where are you? No.
I'm like, yeah, get one of those clerks' numbers.
Yeah,
or something.
right? Oh, literally. Gosh. No.
I'm so appreciative that you came on the
Oh
podcast.
my gosh.
Thank you so much.
I love you. Yes, this was so fun.
You're so sweet. I feel like I know the listeners are going to be so stoked.
Love it.
I just feel really grateful that people are willing to share their stories. And like, I'm really grateful you were so willing to speak to all of it and speak to it authentically, because like you said, I think that really to me is like the mission of this. It's like it's hard to talk about, and I know that like can bring up a lot for you, but I think it's really important. I know that I have a lot of people who listen to the podcast who are kind of like cusper people. Hearing these stories is just so powerful because especially hearing your perspective, you're the first gay man I've had on the podcast.
Shut up. Yeah.
It's about damn time.
Oh my gosh, I love
you're
that.
like the perfect person to do
God,
it.
I'm
I'm like,
honored.
you are the gay icon.
Oh my gosh. You're so
I'm like
nice.
so glad that
You're
you were
so
willing to
nice.
come on, because I feel like these are the kind of stories that I'm like really hoping that people can listen to and be like, okay, like A, it's okay, I can do it, and B, like I probably should do it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, no, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, of
I loved it.
course. Thank you so much, and bye everyone.
Bye, campers.
G-I